Discover the 9 miraculous signs confirmed by heaven that your soul is entering its final journey. In a quaint English village, nestled between rolling hills, lived Thomas, a devoted grandfather and the heart of his community. One evening, as the amber light of the setting sun bathed the village in a warm glow, strange occurrences began to unfold around him, leaving the townsfolk in awe. The church bells tolled mysteriously, even when the wind was still. Villagers whispered of a sacred flame illuminating the altar, flickering with no breath of life to stir it. It was an ethereal sight, as if the heavens had opened to deliver a message to Thomas's soul, beckoning him toward an enigmatic journey. With each passing day, Thomas found himself entwined in these miraculous signs. The first was that sacred flame, a beacon emanating warmth and peace. Gathered in hushed circles, the villagers debated the implications. Just a trick of the light, some muttered skeptically, rolling their eyes. Yet, others insisted that Thomas had been chosen. It filled the air with an almost electric tension as hearts raced between faith and doubt, whispering prayers and casting furtive glances at the flickering light. The very next Sunday, another sign appeared, a dove landing on the church window pane, cooing softly as if repeating heavenly secrets meant solely for Thomas's ears. The dove's presence was a gentle reminder of peace and purity. Children pointed, eyes wide with wonder. "See, it is St. Jude sending a sign," one exclaimed. From this moment, the feeling in the village shifted and hope glimmered in every heart. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As whispers escalated, Thomas's daughter, Sarah, rallied everyone to pray fervently to St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes. The scent of burning incense wove through the church, mingling hope with unease. Moments later, an unexpected miracle unfolded. A child, once confined to a wheelchair, suddenly stood and sprinted toward the altar, laughter ringing like sweet bells. Gasps filled the air as tears of joy mixed with the aroma of hope. The divine began to dissolve doubt, binding the villagers together in a sacred experience of grace. In the quiet after the storm of emotion, Thomas felt an otherworldly presence. He withdrew to a secluded corner of the church, bathed in golden rays that surged through stained glass windows. That's when he caught a glimpse of a figure draped in light, radiating calm. An angelic being lingered beside him, weaving ethereal words into his heart. Thomas understood the signs sprung not for his sake alone, but called the village to step deeper into faith and commitment to one another. With anticipation hanging thick in the air, the community turned towards Thomas, longing for wisdom and clarity. Yet, as he opened his mouth to speak, a question hung in the balance. What is to be the true meaning of faith, and how will these revelations redefine their lives? As Thomas prepared to unveil the message of divine wonder, a shiver ran through the gathered souls. Hearts quickened, and hope blossomed, leaving the village yearning for the next chapter of revealed grace. As the gentle hush of expectation wrapped around the villagers, Thomas felt the weight of their gaze pressing upon him. The stillness seemed to thrum with a pulse of ancient wisdom, urging him to share the truth growing in his heart. He took a deep breath, calling forth the courage that had always resided within him, the same courage bred from years of faith, toil, and love for his family and community. "Dear friends," he began, his voice like a warm candlelight flickering in the cool evening. "These signs, the flame, the dove, the miracle we witness today, are not simply wonders to thrill our hearts. They are reminders, a divine call to our souls. They urge us to reflect, to reconnect with one another and with God." A wave of understanding washed over the crowd, but mingled with it was an unmistakable sense of trepidation. The flicker of the sacred flame was no longer just a curiosity. It had become the soul of their community, igniting a deeper exploration of faith. "Faith is not merely a set of beliefs," Thomas continued, letting his words dance over the villagers like the gentle breeze trailing through the trees. It is an active commitment to love for one another and for our Creator. Each miraculous sign urges us to open our hearts wider, to embrace the discomfort of change, and to seek transformation in ourselves. Whispers rippled through the audience, some nodding in agreement, while others looked puzzled, wrestling with the urge to dive deeper into their own faith journeys. The uncertainty of what lay ahead loomed large, yet there was an undeniable warmth spreading through the gathering, a mingling of hope and willingness to explore together. Just then, a fresh breeze flowed into the church, rustling the delicate veils of incense that lingered in the air. Another dove settled itself on the altar, and a sense of calm enveloped the congregation. Thomas felt it too. It was as if heaven itself breathed reassurance into their hearts, reminding them that they were not alone on this journey. "Remember," he said, his eyes bright with sincerity, "faith requires courage. It dares us to share our sorrows and joys, to meet each other's fears with love, and to seek out the divine presence that connects us all." He gestured to the people gathered before him, feeling their hearts beat in unison. In that moment, the village felt transformed, a tapestry woven with threads of hope, woven tighter by shared experiences. As each villager embraced the idea of faith being an active choice, the walls of separation began to crumble. There was power in their unity, a mystical energy flickering between them like the flame that had ignited wonder in their hearts. Children, their eyes alight with innocence and curiosity, tugged at their parents' sleeves, eager to grasp the unfolding mystery. An elder in the back whispered, "This is only the beginning," and the villagers exchanged glances, a knowing spark igniting amongst them as Thomas stepped forward, poised to guide his community on this path of awakening. A sudden hush descended as a brilliant light poured through the stained glass windows, casting a kaleidoscope of colors upon the gathered souls. What message does this divine light bring? His heart wondered, echoing in the silence of reverence. Yet, what would their response be, and what divine revelations awaited them? The answer hung tantalizingly close, thick with the promise of change. The light lingered, filling the church with warmth and an unmistakable essence of divine presence. It felt as though time had paused, allowing each villager to absorb the moment's gravity. Thomas took a step back, letting the hush of awe sink deeper into the hearts surrounding him. What do we truly seek? He pondered. Voices echoed through his mind, a private dialogue with the Almighty. Seeking connection, searching for hope, yearning for certainty, were these not the whispers of each soul? And did not God, in his loving grace, listen intently to each prayer? A soft murmur spread through the crowd, vibrantly alive with shared breath. Adult eyes sparkled with renewed purpose, while children leaned close to their parents, sensing that something profound was unfolding. "I can feel it," a young woman named Mary said, gripping her husband's hand tightly. "Something is coming, something wonderful." Her voice was a song, a captivating melody that resonated across the space. Thomas smiled. "Yes, Mary, that is the heartbeat of faith stirring within us." His heart swelled, knowing this was not merely a sermon. It was an invitation into the depths of their collective spirit. This flame we've seen, this dove we've felt, these are not mere symbols. They are guides, leading us toward true transformation. As he spoke, Thomas noticed an older man in the corner. His skin was lined with years, yet his eyes were youthful and eager. This man had once been the village skeptic, hesitant to embrace the miraculous. But today, something illumined his face, a willingness to believe, or perhaps even a desperation to hope. "Is it wrong to doubt?" the man asked, breaking the reverent silence. "No, dear friend," Thomas replied, his voice resonating like a comforting presence. "Doubt can be the soil from which faith grows. In our questioning, we find connection, we seek, we explore, we discover more about who we are and who God is." The man nodded thoughtfully, reflecting on this new perspective. Their elder had always taught that faith must be unwavering, but perhaps it could also embrace the shadows of uncertainty. As if summoned by their collective longing, a faint sound began to emerge, like a gentle choir of harmonies rising from the depths of the earth. A few villagers closed their eyes, surrendering to the sway of melodies curling around them. They felt an inexplicable joy that broke through their hearts like sunlight piercing clouds. Let us not shy away from our burdens or fears, Thomas encouraged, sensing the current of faith enveloping them. Let us bring them to the light, together. In sharing our struggles, we bond more deeply, allowing God to work within our lives. The flame flickered brighter on the altar, and the dove took flight once more, seemingly urging them onward. The congregation resonated with hope, each heartbeat syncing with a rhythm of shared vulnerability. They knew they were being summoned to a sacred adventure, one that laid bare their souls and invited grace to cleanse and renew. Just then, a voice broke through the calm. What if we fail? A timid child whispered among the adults. Her small frame seemed dwarfed by the collective strength of the gathered community. In that moment, Thomas knelt beside her, looking into her eyes filled with innocence. Failure is not the end. It is merely a stepping stone to greater understanding, he said softly. With every stumble, we rise closer to God's embrace. Remember, His love holds us, even when we are lost. The villagers nodded, a chorus of agreement swelling through their spirits. Something tangible shifted as fears gave way to possibility. Do you feel it? Thomas asked, raising his hands toward the divine light still bathing the room. A divine opening, a bridge to what comes next. We are called to lift each other, to walk this journey of faith together. As the congregation feasted on the powerful atmosphere, a whisper carried on the wind that definite promise of revelation just beyond their reach. Thomas could sense it as an electric thrill coursing through their souls, stirring questions that begged for answers. The moment felt pregnant with possibility, yet Thomas couldn't shake the notion that they stood on the precipice of something vast. What new mysteries shall be revealed as we delve deeper into the heart of faith? What revelations await us? With minds and hearts wide open, the villagers stood on the dawn of a transformative journey, uncertain yet filled with fervent hope, eager to uncover what God had in store for them next. The warmth in the church intensified, surrounding the villagers like an embrace from the divine. Whispers turned into quiet prayers, as the air thickened with expectancy. Each soul felt the pull of something greater, a calling that beckoned them toward the unknown. Let us close our eyes, Thomas suggested, his gentle voice weaving through the congregation. Let us breathe deeply and open our hearts to the whispers of the Holy Spirit. With that simple invitation, heads bowed and eyelids fell shut. Thomas led them in a prayer, asking not just for guidance, but for the strength to face the truths that might come. Lord, reveal to us the path ahead, the revelations we so long for. Help us confront our fears and transform our doubts into a flourishing faith. As they prayed, a flicker of light caught Thomas's attention, illuminating the center of the altar with a vivid glow. The light danced, casting beautiful shapes along the walls, resembling divine figures spiraling in adoration. The villagers gasped softly, and newfound energy surged through them. Can you see it? Mary whispered to her husband, her eyes wide with awe. Yes, and it feels alive, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. The murmurs erupted among the villagers, a shared realization dawning upon them. This is more than a feeling, someone exclaimed. It's a sign. Thomas opened his eyes, seeing the wonder in the faces around him. They were more than just spectators. They were part of a divine display, a heavenly reminder that they were not alone in their journey. What we are witnessing, my friends, is a call to deeper understanding, he declared, his voice rising with fervor. The light pulsed gently, its rhythm syncing with the heartbeat of faith in the room. Everyone was captivated as though they were perched at the edge of God's own promise. With the walls of doubt crumbling, the realization of their shared faith blossomed like flowers awakening in spring. Together, we will explore the heights of our faith, Thomas exclaimed, sensing a shift. The congregation breathed in unison, a harmonious blending of hopes and dreams. The elder man from the corner stood, his face radiant with newfound joy. What do we do next? He asked, his voice resonating with anticipation. How do we follow this light? By taking the first step into trust, Thomas replied, seeing the spark of passion igniting in the hearts around him. Each of us holds the key, our stories, our struggles. Together we'll pave the way. God desires us to reflect His love into the world. A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd as each individual contemplated their personal journeys. They held burdens that weighed heavily on their hearts, But in that moment, they realized those burdens could fuel their collective strength. "Let us find comfort in each other's truths," Thomas urged. "Let us bare our souls and build a foundation of faith upon which we can stand united." Suddenly, from the back of the church, a voice rang out, trembling yet resolute. "What if I have nothing to give?" A young man, his face filled with uncertainty, stepped forward. "Ah," Thomas smiled warmly. "You give your vulnerability, your honesty. That is a treasure beyond measure. When you are open, God can enter like a river into the soul, washing away shame and self-doubt. Your honesty might bring healing to someone else." Hope flickered in the man's eyes. "Then I shall speak." Thomas nodded, waving an encouraging hand. "Yes, speak your truth. You never know how your words can create ripples of grace." As more voices emerged, their confessions mingled with the hum of the light above, dancing together in divine harmony. Burdens were lifted, fears were cast aside, and ties of empathy formed. The villagers moved closer to each other, intertwining their stories like threads woven into a larger tapestry of faith. They stood ready now, their hearts open wide, eager to discover what this divine journey would unveil. The air crackled with holy anticipation. With the atmosphere charged and their spirits intertwined, Thomas turned his gaze toward the light, feeling the stirring of something profound on the horizon. What divine mysteries shall unfold as we venture deeper into faith? What miraculous truths lie waiting in the shadows? The villagers leaned in closer, hungry for revelation, hearts racing with excitement, at the edge of the next chapter of their journey. As the light flickered and pulsed above the altar, something shifted in the hearts of the villagers. They sensed the weight of the moment, the sacred air thickening with the promise of divine revelation. Thomas, still glancing up at the heavenly glow, felt a surge of inspiration rise within him, almost like a voice urging him to share what lay beyond the veil of the familiar. "Beloved friends," he began, his eyes sparkling with zeal, "our willingness to open our hearts has brought us to this pivotal point. We are not merely congregants today. We are pilgrims on a shared journey toward understanding our deepest truths." The villagers nodded, their eyes reflecting a flicker of hope, yet there lingered an unspoken question, a collective yearning for clarity. A woman stepped forward, her brow furrowed in concern. "What does it mean to trust if we are still bound by our past, Thomas? Can we truly step into the light when shadows cling to our very beings?" Her voice, laced with vulnerability, resonated deeply with the crowd. The uncertainty bubbled like a brook flowing beneath the surface. Thomas sensed this moment was crucial, not just for her, but for all who had gathered that day. "Trust," he replied, "isn't about the absence of fear. It's about walking forward despite it. Look around. We are surrounded by the light, by each other. Look at the warmth in this space. It's our collective faith, igniting and illuminating even our darkest moments. Each question, every doubt, these are stepping stones leading us deeper into God's embrace." As he spoke, the light above began shifting its colors. Gentle blues, vibrant yellows, and soft whites blended in an ethereal dance. The congregation held its breath, awed by the ethereal beauty, renewing their belief in the unseen. In that moment, the flicker of doubt subsided. Hope took its rightful place. Then, a familiar young voice called out once more, clearer now, echoing with newfound certainty. "But how do we uncover these layers of faith? How do we reveal our stories when we fear they are too frail to share?" "Prayer and community," Thomas replied, his voice a steady anchor. "In vulnerability lies strength. As we share our stories, our struggles weave a tapestry of hope, each thread adding to the richness of our faith. Therein lies our transformation." The villagers felt the warmth of his words settle within them. Courage began to bloom, and soon, one by one, they opened their hearts, sharing stories of despair, joy, struggles, and dreams. It was a sacred exchange, each sentence a note in the symphony of their collective spirit. With every shared revelation, the light above them brightened, bathing the room in divine warmth. Each voice seemed to awaken the light further, turning their confessions into brilliant beams cutting through the shadows. A presence enveloped them. It was clear they were being watched over, guided. Just then, a toddler, perhaps uninfluenced by the weight of their fears, giggled unrestrained, pointing at the vibrant display. "Look, it's goddess colors." Her innocent joy broke through the solemnity, and laughter erupted among the villagers, breaking the tension and drawing everyone closer together. "Indeed," Thomas laughed, "God is painting our stories with the colors of his love. His grace transcends our pain, renewing us with joy and purpose." Yet, even amid their laughter, a sense of serious anticipation lingered. Unanswered questions still hovered like gentle fog at dawn. As the villagers began to commune more freely, energy pulsed within the space, and Thomas felt a shift. Could this joyful encounter be leading them toward something greater? What divine gifts are yet to be unveiled? He pondered, glancing once more at the radiant light. Thomas sensed it was not an ending, but rather an opening, a gateway to something extraordinary that was about to unfold. Would they be ready to embrace the journey ahead? What would these colors of God reveal to each soul gathered here? And as they stood united in spirit, the mystery lingered, urging them forward, a whisper in the heart, "Your next step awaits." As the laughter echoed in the sanctuary, a quiet hush fell again, like a blanket draping over their spirits, inviting contemplation. The vibrant colors above pulsed slowly, creating an aura of expectancy as they filled the villagers with awe. Thomas stepped forward, sensing a deeper connection forming between the divine and the gathered souls. "These moments of joy," he declared, the conviction in his voice ringing clear, "are not just fleeting. They are glimpses into the kingdom that awaits us." What if we recognize that every emotion we experience, joy, sorrow, fear, holds a unique purpose? Each feeling can guide us deeper into God's design. A sturdy man, his hands worn from labor, raised an eyebrow. "But how, Thomas? How can our pain lead us closer to God? Sometimes it feels too heavy to bear." "What a beautiful question," Thomas replied, his heart swelling with compassion. "Remember, the crucible of suffering often refines us like gold. It's through our trials that we discover resilience and strength, and our hearts, when laid bare, can receive healing and grace. God uses these experiences to lead us closer to his truth." A murmur of agreement flowed through the crowd. It was as if they were all weaving a tapestry of shared experience, every thread emblematic of personal struggle and communal resilience. The presence of the Lord felt thicker, more tangible. A soft voice chimed from the shadows. It was Miriam, the village's elderly figure, cradling a small wooden cross in her hands. "I have seen this journey, dear Thomas. I have walked it, and every time, there was light on the other side." Her eyes glimmered with wisdom. "When I lost my husband, I thought my heart would shatter beyond repair. But in prayer, I found his embrace a comfort that I never imagined possible." Her words hung in the air, transforming the atmosphere into one of solemn connection. Each villager reflected on their own losses and burdens, yet the warmth of community allowed them to feel God's unconditional love woven together in the threads of shared testimonies. Just then, the light above intensified, swirling in vibrant hues that began to form shapes: a dove, a heart, a shining path. Whispers of astonishment rippled through the crowd. Thomas gestured upward. "Look, the signs of his presence are clear. We are surrounded by love, guided by hope." As the shapes danced above, it felt like a heavenly message, an invitation to uncover their own journey, to trust in God's limitless grace. "What about each of us?" A young man spoke up, his voice tinged with emotion. "What if we also have a part to play in this transformation? How do we not just witness the light, but become conduits of it in our world?" "Your question holds great power," Thomas replied, nodding eagerly. "Each of us can be a beacon, reflecting the light we receive. Our stories, illuminated by his love, can transform not only our lives, but the lives of others. In every act of kindness, every moment of understanding, we become vessels of his grace." At this, the villagers began to share ideas how they could reach out to the lonely, offer help to those in need, and shine light into their corners of the world. It was an explosion of inspiration. They were becoming the very embodiment of love that God desired. Suddenly, a chill wrapped around them, and as one, they turned to the door. Someone stood at the entrance, a traveler with weary eyes and a hopeful heart. The figure carried a heavy burden, both visible and unspoken. The light's colors began to pulse in harmony, as if preparing to welcome him into the fold. "He comes seeking," Thomas whispered, filled with anticipation, "and the colors are ready to embrace him." Could this new arrival be the key to unlocking further revelations? What divine purpose lay within his journey? And how would the villagers respond through the light they had ignited? The air crackled with potential, carrying them toward the next chapter in their unfolding story. As the traveler stepped into the sanctuary, an electric sense of anticipation tingled in the air. The soft glow of colors responded to him, swirling and wrapping around his weary frame. As if recognizing a kindred spirit, Thomas took a step forward, his heart pounding with the promise of what this moment could unveil. "Welcome, friend," he called, his voice steady yet warm, inviting. "You've come to a place of refuge. May I ask what brings you to our humble gathering?" The stranger inhaled deeply, his chest rising as he prepared to share. "I've been searching for understanding. My heart is heavy with loss, and the path seems shrouded in shadow." The villagers leaned in closer, empathy shining in their eyes. They had all felt that weight at one time or another. Thomas gestured for the man to come further into the light, a space filled with love and support. "You are not alone in your struggle. Each of us carries burdens, but together we can find peace." The traveler stepped forward, tears glimmering like stars in the backdrop of his shadowed face. "I lost my wife to illness, and in her passing, I lost my way. I came here seeking solace, and perhaps a whisper of hope." Thomas placed a hand on the man's shoulder, looking deeply into his eyes. "God is always whispering, even in our darkest moments. You embody the struggle that many of us know, but here, we learn that even in sorrow, God's light can shine through." As he spoke, the colors above shifted again, forming images: outstretched hands, a gentle embrace, waves crashing against a rocky shore. Each image told a story of hope and healing, resonating deeply with the villagers. Miriam stepped closer, her voice soft but clear. "Many years ago, I too stood in shadow. I felt lost, like you do now. But in surrendering my pain to the Lord, I discovered strength I never knew I had. He became my guide, illuminating the path even when my heart could not see." A hush enveloped the crowd as they absorbed her words. Each villager began to nod, recalling their own journeys through grief, longing, and, ultimately, healing. They gathered around the traveler, forming a circle of welcome, their collective light mingling with the sanctuary's vibrant hues. "Please, tell us how we can support you," one villager urged, her eyes warm with sincerity. "We are here, like the body of Christ, to lift each other up." The traveler looked around, his heart unfolding ever so slightly. "It's a struggle to open up, but maybe sharing my wife's story will be the bridge I need." With nods of encouragement, he began recounting tales of laughter, love, and the small moments that had filled their lives, each memory rising to the surface like bubbles breaking free from the depths of his sorrow. The more he spoke, the lighter his spirit seemed, as though the weight of sadness was dispersing into the air as he finished. Tears glistened on the faces of those around him, tears not just of grief, but of shared love and understanding. Thomas felt a surge of compassion welling up, recognizing that the light the traveler sought had always been inside him, waiting to be ignited. "Together, we can mourn and celebrate," Thomas declared, his voice now vibrant with hope. "In sharing our stories, we create ripples of healing in this world. Your voice has the power to touch lives, just as your wife touched yours." In that moment, the traveler stood taller, emboldened. The villagers exchanged glances, sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding, an intertwining of destinies, hearts pulling closer under the weight of shared experiences. Yet as the warmth enveloped them, the light seemed to pulse more vigorously, drawing everyone's attention back to the heavens. A new shape began to form above a radiant tree, its branches stretching wide, laden with shimmering fruits of hope. "What does this mean?" a child whispered, pointing to the miracle unfolding above. Thomas hesitated, feeling the divine stir in the atmosphere, inviting them to explore even deeper truths. "Perhaps we're being called to consider what it means to bear the fruits of the Spirit within us. What passions await us as we trust in God's purpose?" The air grew thick with questions: what signs would God unveil next? and what journey awaited them as they ventured forward together. Would the traveler find solace in the embrace of this community? And as they sat in silent wonder, a new chapter of discovery beckoned them into the sacred unknown. As the gathering cast their gaze toward the radiant tree above, gasps of wonder filled the sanctuary. The colors shimmered like the first light of dawn breaking over the horizon, and the air pulsed with an electric energy that reverberated through every heart present. Each villager felt a stirring deep within, a yearning to discover their purpose, a call to illuminate their shadows with faith's flickering flame. "Look!" cried a young woman near the front. "The fruit. It glimmers in every hue imaginable." She pointed, her eyes wide with awe, as golden oranges and radiant reds seemingly danced and twinkled like stars caught among the branches. "What wisdom do they hold?" Thomas moved into the circle, the warmth of the community encircling him like an embrace. "The fruits of the Spirit are not just beautiful. They symbolize growth, love, peace, and the resilience God places within us." His heart quickened with a renewed fervor. "They invite us to consider the gifts we possess, even in our struggles. Each of us has a role to play in this divine tapestry." The traveler listened, hope weaving itself through his heart. "What if," he began, his voice trembling with raw emotion, "what if these fruits are meant to remind us of the joy we can still embrace?" My wife's laughter was like light, guiding me in times of darkness. A murmur of agreement rolled through the villagers, and Miriam stepped forward. "Indeed, I believe they represent the possibility of healing and restoration. Our sorrows can bear fruit, just as joy does. We must be willing to seek out those gifts, even when shadows linger." The tree above seemed to respond. Its colors deepened, casting a brilliant light that sparked awareness in the eyes of everyone present. It was as though the whisperings of heaven echoed through the leaves, beckoning them to listen closely. Could we partake of its fruits? A gentle voice wondered. Could we receive the goodness they offer for our journey? In response, Thomas gently placed his hands at his sides, looking around the circle. To partake in these fruits, we must first embrace our own vulnerability. We can't fear sharing our burdens if we truly wish to fill our lives with love and courage. Let us open our hearts. With each declaration, the villagers nodded, their resolve hardening. They began to share their own stories, the wounds that still ached, the joys that lit up their lives, and the moments that knit their hearts together like threads in a beautiful quilt. Each voice, like a note in harmony, built a powerful song of resilience, a devotion blooming amidst the struggles they had faced. The traveler, feeling a collective warmth enveloping him, finally spoke. "My wife loved to say that we could find treasure in our trials, as long as we didn't stand alone. Instead of hiding from pain, we can allow it to transform our spirits, just as a seed becomes a fruitful tree." As he spoke, the villagers turned their faces to the radiant tree. They began to whisper their own hopes, their struggles now transformed into offerings. Light coursed like a river through the sanctuary, flowing from one heart to another. The child who had first pointed at the tree exclaimed in delight, "The tree is growing even brighter. It's as if the light is fed by our sharing." Thomas felt a flicker of joy. "Yes, when we bend together, we grow stronger. Our testimonies become nourishment for one another." In the midst of this growing bond, a stillness settled over the gathering, an expectant hush that felt palpable. They all sensed a distinct presence, a knowing that something significant was about to unfold. As the warm glow enveloped them, the shapes above began to shift once more, forming new patterns, suggesting a path yet unseen. What awaits us on this journey? The traveler wondered aloud, his voice barely above a whisper, filled with reverence and curiosity. The tree continued to shine, weaving branches of promise and light, and the air thickened with a divine invitation. Would they be brave enough to follow its call? What mysteries awaited those who dared to explore the paths laid before them? As they stood together, hearts poised to receive, a deeper understanding of their purpose beckoned to be unveiled. As the moments of anticipation hung in the air, a soft wind stirred the branches of the radiant tree, sending whispers of hope cascading down upon the villagers. The colors intensified, bathing the faces gathered below in hues of gold and deep crimson, as if the tree itself breathed life into their dreams. "Look!" Thomas exclaimed, his voice rising above the murmur. The tree is inviting us further. Each branch seems to beckon us into a new understanding. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he pointed to a cluster of fruits that glimmered like jewels, reflecting the very essence of their shared burdens and victories. The air shimmered with possibility. The traveler, still captivated, felt a surge of energy. What secrets do those fruits hold? What truths does God wish us to uncover? He pondered out loud, his heart racing with each word. Miriam gently squeezed the hand of the young woman next to her, offering silent support. Perhaps they reveal the divine plans woven into our lives and encouragement to embrace what lies ahead, she whispered, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. If hearing her words, the tree trembled slightly, and a single, vibrant fruit detached, floating down toward the gathering like a blessing sent from above. The villagers gasped as it landed softly at Thomas's feet. Raised on a stillness of reverence, he reached down, his palms cupping the sweet treasure, feeling its warmth radiate through him. Together, let us seek what this fruit represents, he declared, holding it high for all to see. Is it wisdom? Joy? Perhaps hope? Let us contemplate what we each need at this moment to fulfill our purpose. His voice resonated with warmth, inviting contemplation. A chorus of voices began to rise as they shared their desires and fears, casting into the air what they sought from this singular, miraculous fruit. Peace, called one man. Patience, sighed a tired mother. Courage to face the storms, echoed a voice filled with yearning. The amount of light around them grew brighter, wrapping the gathering in an embrace of divine affirmation. The essence of God listens to our hearts, Thomas proclaimed. Each fruit we seek is granted not only to fill our spirits, but also to lift one another further up. As the congregation responded, their words formed a visible aura of light, intertwining with their shared hopes and forming a collective prayer. The atmosphere vibrated with intentions, and deep down, they felt their burdens increasingly lightened, as if the weight of the world lifted every inch they offered. Suddenly, the air crackled with energy, and around them, the textures of reality began to shift. Colors danced in sync with their hopes as new shapes emerged from the tree, each one carving a pathway, illuminating options for their lives ahead. They stood on the precipice of something beautiful. Nothing but wonder now filled their hearts. Shall we follow these paths? The traveler urged, barely able to keep the excitement from his voice. What might we discover if we walk together in faith? A silence settled over the villagers as they contemplated the mysterious paths that beckoned. The light surrounding them pulsed, almost inviting them towards something they couldn't yet see. A deeper revelation, a breakthrough moment. Let us take a step into the unknown, trusting in the light, Thomas suggested, his heart pounding with expectation. Together, we brave the journey ahead. What God has for us is beyond our wildest imagination. And with that, they took a collective breath, each heart ignited with faith, daring to step forward into the divine unfolding. What awaited them as they ventured forth? What revelations would guide those brave enough to walk the path illuminated by the fruits of the Spirit? The answers seemed just beyond their grasp, shrouded in sacred mystery. As the villagers stood at the edge of their collective awakening, hearts poised for the divine journey ahead, something spectacular began to unfold. The light from the radiant tree pulsed with an intensity that drew them closer together. Each member of the community felt an inexplicable connection, a sacred bond that was woven through their struggles, joys, and faith. Thomas gazed around him, taking in the faces illuminated by the brilliant glow. He saw hope shining in their eyes, a renewed commitment to love and uplift each other. Let us remember, he said, his voice steady. This journey is not just for ourselves, but for every soul we encounter. In that moment, the air thickened with a divine presence. The shimmering fruit at Thomas's feet began to glow softly, casting a radiant light that danced across the church walls like the dawn breaking over a new day. Whatever we seek, joy, peace, healing, this fruit embodies our unity and shared purpose, he proclaimed. The villagers murmured with anticipation, their eyes reflecting the shimmering colors. They felt the pull of the light, urging them to embrace their faith with courage. What will we choose to do with this gift? Thomas asked, inviting them to share their thoughts aloud. A woman stepped forward, her voice trembling yet firm. Let this fruit inspire us to serve our community. We can open our hearts to those around us, sharing kindness and compassion. Nods and murmurs of agreement swept through the crowd as others began voicing their dreams of outreach and fellowship. Our burdens are heavy, a young man added, but together we can bear them. Let us create a support network, ensuring that no one walks alone in their struggles. Just then, the child who had before pointed at the tree raised her small hand and said with innocent authority, "And we must celebrate. Celebrate the love we have found here." Laughter erupted among the villagers, warmth spreading through the air like sunlight filtering through the leaves. "Yes, let us celebrate every step we take forward," Thomas replied, his heart alight with joy. In our moments of sorrow and victory alike, we honor the journey of faith that unites us. As if in response to their affirmations, the vibrant tree shimmered brighter, transforming with dazzling colors that swirled and solidified into a magnificent tapestry. Each thread depicted stories of shared struggles, triumphs, and divine grace. Like a living testament to their collective faith journey, the villagers stood in awe, mesmerized by the radiant display. It became clear that their spirits were intertwined, connected by every dream and every prayer whispered in the stillness of night. "Look at our story," Thomas exclaimed. "It is a living miracle." The atmosphere thickened again, the energy palpable as it flowed through every heart in the room. They could almost hear the breath of God in the silence, an urging call to step forth into their destiny together. The gentle breeze whispered through the space, sparking flickers of inspiration. "This is our moment," a voice rose from the back. "Let us build pathways where there were once walls." Our hearts are emboldened. We can bring this love beyond the church doors. "Yes," came the unified cry, voices rising in collective enthusiasm. With each proclamation, they committed to share their faith not only with one another, but with the world outside their sanctuary. As their plans began to take shape, the light around them flashed brilliantly, showering them with blessings as if heaven applauded their devotion. Thomas raised his hands high, eyes shining. "In every act of love, we participate in the divine flow of grace. Let us go out and manifest our faith." Thus, hand in hand, the village transformed, ignited by a powerful spiritual mission to serve, uplift, and illuminate lives both near and far. And as they stepped into the warmth of the setting sun, they felt the presence of the Holy Spirit surrounding them. In that beautiful shift, there was a moment of quiet reflection. Each person turned inward, recognizing their own transformations, their doubts, rendered into stepping stones. The shadows that had loomed no longer held power. Instead, they were stepping into the full radiance of divine purpose. As the village gathered together one last time beneath the glowing tapestry, a profound sense of peace enveloped them. They knew this was just the beginning of a greater journey, a journey interwoven with divine love and unwavering faith, leading them to lives filled with compassion, hope, and resilience. The flickering flame within their hearts grew stronger, a sacred fire guiding their steps. "The kingdom of God is within us," Thomas declared, "and today we carry it into the world." By the time they left the church that evening, the villagers were not just a community. They had become vessels of divine light, prepared to scatter hope like seeds upon the earth. Their hearts united, they whispered promises to one another, vowing to share the joys and burdens of life, to foster connection, and to embrace each day as a miraculous gift. And with that, they ventured forward, unafraid, standing in the radiance of their joined faith, a testament to transformation, illuminating every corner of their lives. Now, dear friends, hear me. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your interaction matters. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this divine journey. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Together, let us spread this light across the world.